Hey guys, and welcome to the next lesson. This lesson is going to be pretty advanced, so I am going to try my best to go at a pretty slow rate, as well as to just make sure that I'm not making any stupid mistakes. So here's what we will be making. Right, so extremely cool. So let's just jump straight to it. Alright, so once you guys are ready, you can go ahead and create a new composition. I'm just going to have mine at 720p, frame rate 30, duration 30 seconds with a background color of black. Alright, and then go ahead and create a new text. So you can type whatever you'd like, just don't make it too long. So I'm going to type glowing. I know it's not glowing, but the word glowing is cool, so you can just scale it up pretty big and put it more or less in the center of your screen. Okay, and then just go ahead and right click and go to pre-compose, and then just name this text. Click OK. Alright, so now we're going to quickly create our floor. So we'll go ahead and create a new solid layer. Make sure the colors are like a dark gray color, and we'll name it floor. Click OK, and then just drag the text over your floor and enable the 3D layer options, and then go ahead and get your rotation tool. You can just hit W, or you can just click on it there, and then just move it all the way back. Okay, like that, and then just move it so it's sitting just below your text. So don't move it all the way down here, just so it's sitting under your text like that. And then I'm just going to stretch mine out a bit. That looks good. Alright, so now we're going to create our light. So we'll say new light, and we'll just have it named light. Make sure the light type is point, and cast shadows is ticked, and then just click OK. Alright, so first of all, we're going to drag our light behind our text. So make sure your z-axis is selected and just move it behind your text. Another way that you can do this, which I found a lot easier, is here where it says one view. You can put it to two views, and then just move it behind your text like that. So when moving things in z-axis, using the top-down view is a lot easier for me personally. Alright, so we can just go back to the one view now, and then we can open up our light options, and then we can increase the intensity up to about like 350, 355, and put the shadow diffusion, we can put this up to about 30. That will just soften the shadows when we get our shadows in a second. And drop down your text, go to the material options, and then put cast shadows on. Alright, and make sure accept and accept lights is on. Alright, so now if we move our light a bit closer, move it a little bit back. Okay, there we can start seeing our shadows. Let's put it to full quality. Alright, so let's create another new solid. So going to create a new solid layer. Alright, so this one's going to be, it's going to be our, what looks like our actual light source. Alright, so it's going to be that big bright light at the back of our text. So just name this light solid and make it a white. Click OK, and then come down to your ellipse tool, and then just drag a nice circle. To get a perfect circle, you can hold down Control, Alt and Shift, and it will create a perfect circle. Alright, mine's a little bit big, so I'm just going to scale mine down a bit, and then just put it more or less where your actual light is. Make it a 3D layer, right? And you're going to move it back behind your text again, and then you're going to come down to the material options, and you're going to say cast shadows off. Okay, accept light, you're going to put that off, accept shadows off, and okay, close that now. Alright, so now you should see it. No light should be affecting the layer right now. So we can just go ahead and go back to our two views. Maybe just bring this a little bit closer, and our light, bring this a little bit closer here. Okay, so as long as the light is behind your light solid object. Move this a bit forward. Okay, cool. So now we're going to create a new adjustment layer. And you're going to come over to your effects and presets, and then type in radial, and go ahead and look for CC radial fast blur. Okay, and just going to drag it over the adjustment layer. Alright, so now you can come ahead and increase the amount to about 85, and the zoom set to brightest. Right, so you can already see our effect starting to happen. Alright, so now you're going to just create a new null object, and rename your null object to point. Okay, and then just go ahead and click on your adjustment layer, and holding down Alt, click on the center stopwatch. Okay, that's going to open up the expression, and take your, before you do anything, take your pick whip and select your point null object that you just made. Alright, and then you're going to add an expression here, so you're going to type in dot to com, capital C, open brackets, open square brackets, 0, 0, 0, comma, and then just press enter. So that turns the 3D layer point into a 2D position for the blur effect. Alright, so if we take our point, first of all, let's quickly actually add our camera. Alright, so we can just move our camera down here. So now we can actually take our camera tool, if you press C, and we can move it around. Right. So our text is still very hard to see, so what we'll do in a sec, we'll just take our point null object, make it a 3D layer, and then just move it back behind your light, so you can see how it affects which direction the light's shining depending on where your null object is. So the closer it is and the further it is, the tighter the light, and the closer it is, the more the light will shine, the radius of it will go out. Alright, so we'll just go to our two views, and we'll just move it to about here. Oops. Alright. Okay, so you can come ahead and just take your toggle switch modes, come to your adjustment layer, and set the mode to screen. Alright, so now we can see our text. We can see our text a lot better. So we're going to come to our effects and presets and take the curve adjustment, drag it in and drag it above your radial fast blur. Alright, and we're going to decrease the range. So we're just going to drag it down so the brighter pixels, so it's going to affect the bright from the dark pixels. Okay, and then what we can do is we can add another curves adjustment, and we can actually add some color to our light. Alright, so let's add a let's add a blue. Right, so if we select our camera tool and move it back to the center, you can see we've got a nice blue glow, but you guys can choose any color you'd like. Alright guys, so go ahead and create a new solid and just call it noise, and then go ahead and type in Fractal Noise or just FRC and you'll see it there, and set the fractal type to dynamic and drop down the sub settings and play around with the sub rotation until you get like this nice fiery effect. Okay. Sorry. And go ahead and get a curves adjustment and just decrease the range here, and then play around with your RGB. So I'm going to add some blue because my light is blue, so I was just making this the same color as your light, or it might look a bit strange. Alright, so we're gonna go ahead now and select our ellipse tool, and then just drag a nice ellipse over your text there. Alright, and then just feather it up. Alright, so now we want to get rid of the white that's coming through there and around the edges. So go to Effect, Channel, and do a solid composite, and then select black. Alright, and then set the blending mode for your fractal noise, set it to none. Alright, and then you can collapse that, toggle switcher modes if you don't see this, and then just turn it into a 3D layer. Alright, and then just hit AA after you've selected your noise again, and then you're going to say accept shadows off, accept lights off. Alright, and then we're going to move it back, just drop it down underneath your text. Okay, so now we can just play with the position, so we can switch to two views, select our noise, and let's have it behind our light here. Okay, that looks good, and we can duplicate this a few times and maybe like spread it around. Okay, one last thing we need to do is just go toggle switch and set the blending modes to screen. Okay, so screen, so set them both to screen, and then we can maybe scale this one a bit smaller and move it here to the side. Alright, so another thing that's happening is it's clipping through the floor here. Let me just move that one a bit back. So just go ahead and select the floor and set it to screen as well, and that will sort out the clipping through the floor. Alright, so last thing we can do is our animation and add a little bit of a more 3D effect to our text. Alright, and maybe we can brighten up our lights a bit there. So just go ahead and select your text layer and Control D, and then move it above your adjustment layer. Alright, so just below the point, and then go ahead to your effects and presets, and we're going to add a bevel alpha. So just type in bevel and then drag this onto your text. Alright, so you can just tap AA and cast shadows off, the accept shadows off, and the accept lights off. Right? If your text is a different color, you need to have your text black. So all you can do is you can just double click on your text. It will open it up because we did a pre-comp of it, and just double click and you can just change your color here. So like, let's say your text was white and that's what you're busy seeing right now, so you just double click on it and just make it black. Alright, so now you should see the nice bevel effect happening there, and you can play around with the thickness. That looks good. Okay, so now we've got a little bit of a 3D effect to it. So what we can do is we can duplicate our bottom text again, tap AA, and then just turn once again the accept lights off, the accept shadows off, and the cast shadows off as well. And then we can move it back a little bit, so move it back just a little bit there. Okay, and then for the text, we're going to set it to screen. Alright, so a bit of the color passes through there. And now let's quickly take our camera tool and just have a look around. So I'm just going to set it to half the quality. Alright, so that looks pretty nice. Do you maybe want to increase the brightness of our light? So let's go here to our light and increase the intensity a little bit more. Okay, so you can play around with the intensity, and you can come here to change it to 2 views, and then you can just play around with the light, how far it is away from your text. Okay, and that's going to influence your shadows. And then we can take our adjustment layer, our light solid, can move this back here, and then we can take our null object that we made and just pick something that looks good depending on what you're going for. Alright, so I'm pretty happy with that. So I'm just going to come back to my camera tool and we'll set it like this. Go back to our single view. Alright, so now we're going to have our camera flying from the side here over all of our text, like very close up, and then it's going to come back and then it's going to fly in sideways into our light. Alright, so you can go ahead and take your camera tool, and now to animate this I do suggest going into your 2 views here. Just be careful that you don't accidentally move your camera. Alright, so we're going to select on our starting spot for the camera. So we'll just zoom in here and we'll move our camera in to where we want it to start. So we're going to have it start pretty close up and have it coming from the side here like that. Okay, and then you can just keyframe the position, the orientation, and the Z rotation. Alright, just want to make sure, yes it is. Okay, and then you can move into about 6 seconds and then move your camera over till it reaches the other side. Alright, and then just keyframe everything again, and then move in to about maybe, yeah, let's make it another 6 seconds. So come to 12 seconds, and we're going to move it back now and go back to the center of it. Okay, and move it back so we can see our whole text. Okay, so our animation so far is coming in from the side here, and then perhaps from this spot, okay, from this spot right here, as it's coming back, we can keyframe our Z rotation, and at this point we can have it starting to rotate sideways. Let's rotate it fully sideways. Alright, yeah, like that. Oh, so just top it in, it's easier. And then we can go to about 1 second, and we can fly our camera in. Alright, so just take your Z-axis and fly it in. If you need to, if your letter's getting in the way, you can just obviously move that around. So we'll maybe pick it up a little bit here at this point and move it so it's going to go through the W, through this gap here. Okay, move it a little bit more, and it moves through the gap until it's literally just seeing white. Okay, so until it's fully white, that's the effect that we're going for. Alright, so this is what's going to be happening. I see it's rotating too soon here, so we only want it to rotate from this point. Alright, so we can just drag our Z rotation keyframe to the point where we actually want it to rotate, and then it's going to come out here and fly into the light. Awesome, so we'll go back to our one view. I'll quickly render it out. So I'll make it full quality and we'll render it. Alright guys, so I've finished rendering it out, so let's see what it looks like. Alright, so what I did is we originally had it rotating from this point, so our rotation was there, and all I did is I just moved it down to the end here and decreased the length of the end bit here where it flies in, because that is supposed to be pretty quick. Alright, so instead of rotating from this point, it comes out and it still stays, the Z-axis still stays at 0, and then I just made it from when it's rushing in, it rotates through the W into the light, and that part happens really quick. Alright, so that was our 3D, sort of 3D light effect video. So I'll see you guys in the next lesson, and hope you managed to follow along and learn something. See you guys in the next one.